me as a middle, we had Callie there and Lauren there, so it was really cool to get to play against them. You know, when you're
.300 at the Devaney Center as the Nebraska Cornhuskers take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They did that during the red-white scrimmage as well, but this time the alumni, pretty cool. They win in 4. The alumni were really good. They only got to practice for like 40 minutes before taking on a team that very well could win the national title this year in the Nebraska volleyball team, number 1 ranked going into the season. She was on some of those great teams in the Pettit era, the John Cook era. We bring in Tnia Tauke Dorn. You played in an alumni match, I believe.
I did play in an alumni match in like 2000 or 2001. We were trying to decide exactly which year it was, but yeah, we definitely had an alumni game before last night.
That was, yeah, and you played in a couple of them, and they played in 2013 as well. And it looks like this might be an annual event. You were there last night. It felt fun. It should be something that they do every year, right?
I mean, I think that it was a great event, and they should do it every year. But I think they should have the old ladies at least get to stand on the end line, throw a ball. We can like pepper with each other, get our name announced, and then we go sit down, and then the pros take over.
Or maybe they could have a senior event, like a senior volleyball event.
Right, like we just play like a game till 15 or something beforehand.
Right. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah,
you can still, well, obviously you're still a coach, head coach of Nebraska 1, pretty good volleyball in your time, played for both Pettit and for Cook. So I imagine you could still get out. You still play occasionally?
No, I don't. I don't even really play with the teams that I coach. So
yeah. Well, that's probably a good start. Nebraska looked really good. I thought the alums looked really good. They got off to a good start. Nebraska takes the first set. I think they kept it going. That is the alumni in the third set. They won the third set, but they could have won a couple of those sets. And they only, as I mentioned, they only practice for like 30 or 40 minutes. Kelly Hunter doesn't play all the time. Stivrins obviously has been a pro. They have an Olympian on that team. So there was a lot of talent on the other side. But when you don't practice all the time, it makes it tough.
Right. I mean, you could tell that they hadn't practiced. And I think they were also doing a little bit of a weird rotation where they had like the outsides like would rotate. They kind of were rotating 3 people into the same spot, but like not correctly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they had like Allie Batenhorst play left side, then they had Krause play left side, then they had Jordan play left side, and then they had Albrecht play outside, and it wasn't quite the right rotation, which was fine. But I think sometimes that like screwed them up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the best part of it was just the rallies. Like I think just to see both sides like hitting as hard as they could, digging up the pursuit plays, and then obviously when one of the girls would, block Jordan Larson or Kelly Hunter got her little set overkill, and the trash talking and the finger pointing, and it would have been fun probably to have those guys mic'd up a little bit. Like maybe not for the world to hear, but like a select few to get the mic'd up version would have been kind of fun.
That would have been fun.
It was
or
a
maybe
cool event.
Yeah, I don't know if you could do that live because you'd have to be a pretty quick edit. I would even some of those girls can say some stuff that you'd probably want to take back.
Oh yeah, I mean you could see the F-bombs, even from the pro side, when Stivrins missed or the connection wasn't there, or she missed the block or whatever. You saw the come out. But
Jordan Larson, an Olympian, doesn't want to lose. Those girls do not want to lose, even if it's to the number 1 team in the country.
Correct. They want to show their stuff, and they want to, I think it was just they wanted to play for the pride of it all. That I started here and ended up doing great things, and I'm proud to be back, and I'm proud of what volleyball has done, and just, I mean, you could just the pride was just it swelled.
Yeah, well, obviously the main players for Nebraska, Harper Murray looked good, 12 kills. I think she hit 276, which is kind of ridiculous. Andy Jackson can jump out of the gym. She'll be a starter. Rebecca Alec. And then maybe, obviously Bergen. But it looks like Bergen has now taken hold of the setter position, right? It looks like Bergen and not Campbell, right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you have to absolutely start that way. I mean, I don't know that Campbell's got the experience. I think it's situational where we could bring in another setter, another hitter, and just give another look, give rest to another, player. When you're going back-to-back weekends, not having to run Bergen Riley, 6 rotations and all that. But honestly, who surprised me a little bit and had the best 2 kills of the night was Skylar Pierce. She cranked down the line like an 8-foot line shot and like a 12-foot line shot, and everybody stopped because it wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah,
because it was Skylar, right? And we're all like, what? And, Jordan used to coach her, and Kelly's obviously her coach now, and play stopped, and everybody was just like, no way. Everybody was congratulating her on both sides of the net. I was like, okay, Sky, let's go. Make it interesting. Show what you got.
Well, we talked about it that
come in and give energy.
You've got 17 players this year. You had 14 last year. You've got basically 2 teams that could, as we mentioned last week, could be 2 top 10 teams. If you split them up evenly, you probably have 2 top 10 teams. But the battles in practice are going to be interesting. As we mentioned, Murray, Jackson, Alec, maybe even Landfair. It surprises me a little bit. It seems like Taylor Landfair is at least going to start the season, right?
No.
You don't think that?
So. I don't think she does anything better than anybody else. Not one thing.
They like her block.
Maybe being huge. She's her stature. I mean, she's got huge hands. She's a big body. She's so strong. All of those positive things about her. But just the execution and the quickness and all those things, I think everybody beats her out in everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? It depends on. I mean, we're playing Pitt to start off. I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have your big stature player out there who can put up big blocks. But I mean, you also are the freshmen. The freshmen are going to be nervous. You might as well just get them out there already. Yeah, I don't know.
If you have that kind of,
you could go either way.
Yeah, well, you're a coach and you deal with talented lineups all the time. Maybe not this talented. Because it's All-American, high school All-American after high school All-American. And I'm sure everybody, at least, to start the season, will play a lot until they figure out lineups. At what point during the season, do you think you start paring down to your top, 7, 8, 9?
Right. I mean, I think what I had seen on an interview was that Danny likes to run a lot of players for a lot of reasons, because, volleyball is a, momentum sport. And so if you have Taylor Landfair in there, or you have Skylar Pierce in there, or whatever, and you can just feel the momentum drop, and then you switch it to putting Stigler in, and she changes the momentum, or you run the 6-2 and you put a different setter and a different right side in instead of having a front row setter, that changes the momentum. So if you can swing those momentum shifts, when the other team starts taking hold of momentum, and you can put in 2, high school All-Americans or an Italian, national team player and change the momentum, you could do that.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, it seems like Coach Cook was always scared of, ruining something, or, the mojo or the vibe or the consistency or something. But I think Danny is just more, let's change something up and get some momentum to swing our way, and then we can always go right back to our starter. But I think if you just let your players know, hey, it's not that you're doing bad, it's just we need to make a change, and we're shifting to do this. You put Carrie Leinbach in to serve, and she's the tiniest little thing out there compared to those girls, and she gets an ace or she gets a dig, and the whole team is cheering, and the momentum shifts to your way.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I just think that Danny's going to do a little bit more of that, where I think Coach Cook would get super pissed, throw his clipboard down, and be like, we're subbing.
Well,
he's just like, hey, let's do something different. And
Yeah.
I think that more calm, steady mentality will make it a lot farther, into the tournament, where you're playing back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And you just have more confidence of more than 7 of your players.
Well, she is a different, I think she does a lot of the same things that Cook did, and probably a lot of different things that Cook did not do or try. But when you're number one, I think it's tempted to try to keep that number one ranking and not take risks. We'll see how it goes. I mean, you start off with Pitt, as you
Right.
mentioned. You got Stanford, you got Kentucky. That, right out of the gate, you got some really, really good volleyball teams. We'll see how Danny Busboom Kelly plays it. I wanted to give people a taste of volleyball to start the show. We're going to have you on throughout the season. We're going to have Jaylen Reyes at the 6 o'clock hour.
Awesome.
So we'll talk a lot of volleyball
Jaylen's
tonight.
a great person to talk to. His energy alone. I actually put him on my heart of the team list when I did a little Facebook post about what I thought about the red-white game. I thought Rebecca Alec was the player, the heart of the team, and I thought Jaylen was the coach, heart of the team, because his teams went 3-1, and he's up there telling them what to do. I can remember clearly last night when Jaylen said, "Hey, she's gonna jab," because Jordan was on the other side, and he's seen her play enough, and he knew that the set wasn't there, and he's like, "Jab, she's gonna jab," and that's a different block setup. That's a different mentality than get in there low and dig. So that was really cool to see him just being into that game so much.
Tnia Tauke Dorn, head coach of Nebraska 1, former volleyball great for the University of Nebraska, played for both Cook and for the man Terry Pettit as well. Fun to have you. We'll have you back more. I just wanted to give people a taste to start off the show.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
There you go. We'll talk to you soon. Tnia Tauke Dorn. Let's get in to the opening kickoff.
Now the opening kickoff on Husker Rewind.
Cross to the middle. Juggle. Diving touchdown, Nebraska. Davison on the deflection. Nebraska's a point away from tying the game. The deflection is caught. The fans have broken into the end zone. They expected the game to be over, but a touchdown was signaled for in the end zone. They'll clear the field and kick for the tie. We could be headed to overtime.
That was a great call, by the way, by Brent Musburger, because a lot of people thought that it was an incomplete pass and the game was over, but Nebraska goes to overtime, of course, beats Missouri in overtime, then goes on to win the national title that year. The headlines today: the Nebraska football team wrapped up fall camp with a 110-play scrimmage. Matt Rule described it as good on good. He says he didn't like the drop-off, though, between the ones and the twos. Really liked the play of the ones, the twos and the threes, not as much. Overall, very successful day, he said. There was an injury. Gibson Pyle, offensive lineman, and they don't know the extent to which he was injured. They're going to have to wait and see on that, he said. Nebraska will play a mock game this Thursday night to simulate their August 28th kickoff in Kansas City, 8 p.m., of course, against Cincinnati. For the third straight year, the Nebraska players voted on the top 10 players who were most deserving of wearing a single-digit jersey. Seventh-year linebacker Jaylen Reyes got 0. Sierra Wright gets number 1. Number 2 goes to Ja'Cory Barney. 3, Marquise Buford. Janarian Bonner gets number 3. Riley Van Poppel, number 4. Actually, I think I've fallen behind on the numbers. Anyway, the guys that get the single-digit numbers: Riley Van Poppel, Dane Key, Malcolm Hartzog, Deshaun Singleton, Vincent Shavers, and no Dylan Raiola. Brian.
Yeah, that's a little bit crazy.
I thought that Dylan Raiola might get one. My guess is that they voted. The team votes on the single-digit jerseys.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this for the 3 years of Matt Rule. And Dylan might have said, I don't want to give up 15.
Yeah, I mean, if he's well known for the number,
Yeah.
I mean, when you got an attachment to a number, you want to stick with it.
So he didn't get one, or maybe he just wasn't voted. Sometimes the best players on the team don't always get voted for stuff.
Yeah.
They don't always get voted team captain, for example. Like Tommy Frazier, maybe the best player in the history of Nebraska football, was never voted team captain.
Yeah.
The Nebraska football team picked up a huge commit over the weekend. 5-star safety Torrey Pittman III. He's from Omaha Central. He's ranked as the 23rd player in the country in the class of 2027. Second best safety. He held offers from USC, Michigan, Penn State, LSU, Oregon, and many others. It's a massive get for Nebraska and Matt Rule, who already had a commitment from the top quarterback in the class, Trey Taylor. The AP Top 25 football rankings came out this week. Nebraska did not make the list. Texas is number 1, followed by Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, and Miami round out the top 10. The Big Ten had 6 teams in the top 25. Of course, Nebraska's not in it, but they did receive some votes. The Big Ten has won back-to-back titles. Penn State is the favorite to win it all this year. We'll see if they can do it, or maybe Ohio State or somebody else from the Big Ten. Arch Manning is the favorite, of course, to win the Heisman, and Texas is the number 1 ranked team. No secret that Michigan coach Sharon Moore will not be coaching the Wolverines when they arrive in Lincoln on September 20th. That's because he'll be suspended for that game and 2 other games as a part of the penalties incurred due to the school's sign stealing scandal that dates back to 2023. The NCAA has also imposed financial penalties surpassing $20 million for the school. Of course, Jim Harbaugh has already left. He's in the NFL now, but he has a 10-year show cause, so he can't coach in college, even if he wanted to. Denard Robinson, an assistant, and mastermind Connor Stallion, who's the guy that apparently came up with the sign stealing scandal idea. Neither one of those guys can coach as well for Michigan or anybody else.
Yeah, sounds like a slap on the wrist to me.
Steve is here. Steve Hardesty as well. How are you, Steve?
Hello, gentlemen.
He usually produces the show. And, of course, Brian sat in last week.
That's
so
right.
I've got 2 producers
Yes.
in case anything goes wrong
Mhm.
like last week.
Glad
How you
to be
feeling?
here.
Oh, loving it.
Are you
And
ready? Is it 11 days? What is today?
oh gosh, what are
Is
yeah, I think 11 days now.
days until kickoff. They're doing that, as I mentioned, the mock game next Thursday night. And I guess Matt Rule is doing the whole day as if they were playing. Like, they'll get up, whatever time they get up, they'll eat breakfast. They'll go through the whole routine as if they were going to play a game. Then they'll do the mock game
Mhm.
at Memorial Stadium. They say on the game night, Thursday of the game, they're going to hang out at a high school. But so game days can get kind of kooky because you're just sitting around waiting for a game to start and really nothing else.
Yeah, a lot of anticipation there.
Yeah. And so you got to keep guys, I don't know what you do, but you try to keep it to the norm, what you would normally do. So I guess it's good to have a mock game day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we rehearse weddings.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. I've never heard of that. I didn't know that was a regular thing, that we have mock game. I bet this is probably the only one they'll do after game 1.
Yeah, this is the brave new world of college football.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a lot of good guests today. We just had Tnia Tauke Dorn. She's the head coach of Nebraska. Was a middle blocker for Nebraska volleyball, played for both John Cook and, of course, Terry Pettit. That was fun to lead off the show with her. In about 5 minutes, we've got Jack Mitchell, who is host of Drive Time Lincoln in the afternoon, of course, the morning show as well. Jack and friends. He knows a lot about Husker football. He'll be fun.
Oh yes.
Later, we've got Jay Foreman, former Nebraska linebacker, 3-time national title winner. He goes to a lot of practices, so I wanted to have Jay on. There's a lot of hype and Kool-Aid coming out of camp.
Oh yeah.
I like Kool-Aid. I think it's delicious.
Hey, and it's
You drink
a
Kool-Aid?
Nebraska drink.
That's right. It's made in Kearney,
Hastings.
Hastings.
Yes.
yes.
Oh, shame on me. I should know that it's made in Hastings.
Hey, you're talking to the Tri-Cities connection right
Wasn't
here.
there also? Oh, you're from Hastings?
Grand Island,
Grand. Okay.
which
Brian,
is neither
that's-
Grand
you're
or an
from
island.
Milford,
I'm from
Malcolm.
Yeah, even worse.
Well,
Well, we got to get to break, and we'll come back with more. We've got Jay Foreman. He said to call him about 10 minutes early. It's going to be about 6 minutes once we go to break, so I hope he answers his phone when we come back. It's Husker Rewind.
KLIN.
Welcome back, Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby. Mike Melby is on the pit crew at Eagle Raceway, and he deals with cars after races on Saturday night. So he's Dale Jensen, I believe, is the driver of his car, and so he's heavily into that right now. But he will join the show right after the first game, which is a Thursday night, August 28th, and I think he'll be on that Sunday show with me as we welcome in Jack Mitchell, morning show host of Jack and Friends. Hey, Jack, how are you? On the road?
I am on the road.
Where are you?
To scenic Hickman, Nebraska.
Woo!
For a
Good
little-
times.
For a family gathering there. Yeah.
Nice. You
Very
have relatives
exciting.
in Hickman. That's not a long
I do.
drive.
Yeah.
No,
My whole family, they were all Norris High grad, my parents and a whole bunch of my relatives. So
Okay.
Go Titans.
Well, we won't keep you long. We'll let you get to the family. I did want to talk a little Husker football. Of course, they're going to do a lot of announcements this weekend. We'll talk about a few of them, but the single digits came out this weekend. Matt Rule has done it now 3 years in a row. Are you a fan of the single digit jerseys?
So I have a complex answer.
Okay, I want to hear it.
I am a fan of honoring and recognizing and kind of identifying the players who exhibit toughness and leadership and I don't know exactly what the criteria is that they use. I don't know the detail of it, but I like the idea of identifying and, like I said, making clear who the guys who are doing it the right way are. That said, and so there's no internal critique.
Right.
Now, that said, this might just be an old man thing, Tom, so you'll have to tell me, but I really don't like breaking into 20 new numbers on the field in the first game of the year.
Yeah.
Not only the guys who switched to single digits, but you got the transfers and then other guys who change numbers as well. One of the benefits of being a fan of the team is being intimately familiar with the jersey numbers
Sure.
of every player. I can still go through and tell you most of the jersey numbers from the mid 90s Huskers because they're in my mind and most of them didn't change very often. A few
Right.
did, but that first game, I don't know. I don't know if Big Roster is doing this, is lobbying for this for profits, right? Like the cardboard industry or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or they're getting more clicks on the roster on the website.
Well, I like the fact that they used to retire numbers all the time, and you can't do that anymore because they retired too many jerseys, so they had to bring them out of retirement. I like Matt Rule's reasoning. I'm with you. I'm kind of a get off my lawn guy as well. I like to know who made that tackle, and then I have to remember who was the single-digit jersey guys. And it's not always the best guys on the team. It's the toughest guys on the team, so they do it that way. But I like Rule's reasoning in that a lot of high school stars come in, they say, I want number 1, or I want number 2, or I want the jersey I wore in high school, and it happens to be a single digit. And his reasoning is, no, the team votes on that. We give them to whoever is voted to wear the single digits.
Tom, here's the other thing I'd say. And again, I don't know if this is an old guy thing or what, but I am never going to think a defensive lineman looks better in a single digit than a double digit.
It's
right?
not slimming.
Give each position, I understand the reasoning. Everybody wants the single digits. Well, maybe not everybody does. If I'm a defensive lineman, I want 99, right?
Right.
Or 95, right? If I'm a defensive back, maybe I want 21. I don't know. Identify a position appropriate one, perhaps, but especially for those defensive linemen because, I love Ty and Nash, but I don't know, the single digits, that'll never get normal for me.
I think I'm similar to you. I don't really care a lot about it. I don't really care about alternative jerseys. Maybe you do as well. They're going to wear them though this year, apparently against USC, November 1st. It's probably going to be a night game. It's probably going to be a blackout. Are you excited about bringing back the all black jerseys?
I need them to win in black because the first few times they tried to work a little black in, they were too cute with it, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last couple of times they've done it, one was against Indiana when they had the black shirt and had the black shirt logo on the side. I don't think they're doing that this time. I liked it more. They just kind of replaced the red with black, which is kind of what I always hoped they would do even 15 years ago, but they got way too cute with it with some of the other ones. And so I applaud the sort of the simplicity of it, to be honest. I'm glad we've sort of gotten away from some of those 2010s styles. So I'm not an old man on this because I don't mind the idea whatsoever of having the black. I think it looks cool. I kind of do feel like it's a secondary color. Other of Nebraska's teams. I mean, Nebraska, Tom, you know this, Nebraska basketball wore black jerseys in like 1992.
Yep.
So goodness sake.
Yeah. I think it'll be.
I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of alternative jerseys, but I think once a year, as long as you don't do it 4 or 5 times a year, and be Oregon, I'm not a huge. I don't care as much on that. So there you go.
I like one special game. I like it for one special game. I'm good with this.
There's a lot of hype coming out of camp, and a lot of fans that I talked to. I don't know about you, Jack, are just like, oh man, why are they saying so many positive things about a team that hasn't done anything, that won 7 games, that finally made a bowl game? Why can't you just win a couple of games first and then start being positive? Where do you come out on that? Because Rule is saying, I get so much negativity from the fans, I need to maybe be a little more positive than I should. It sounds like that's what he's saying.
I don't know. You can't ever make people happy, Tom. Like there's a whole nother group that I feel like you're constantly hearing. If you're in the media, you're always too negative about the team.
Right.
And then at the same time, you're always too positive about the team going into the season. And like, there's always going to be that critique both ways. But the real is the thing about the beginning of a season is I don't really know exactly. Nobody knows on a whole lot of things, right?
Right.
You think about potential at the beginning of season. But of course, like the way that I look at it, it's hard with the way that things have gone over the last decade, and the way that Nebraska's lost games, to say, wow, I can really tell now things are different this time around.
Right.
This is going to be the year things click. I hope it does. I think there are reasons you could believe that. I can give you arguments for that to be the case, but to be honest, like I don't hear that many people coming into this year that are. It's been more in a whole lot of other years over the last several where there's a whole lot of this is going to be this is it. I can see why these players I'm really excited about. I don't know like who that is necessarily, to be honest. There's been way more hype about a lot of other. I can't think of anyone on the roster this year, to be honest. Well,
I guess a couple of examples that I'm thinking of. Dana Holgerson said this week that Dylan Raiola is making throws that he's never seen before. And there's a borderline Hall of Fame coach. He's never seen the throws that Dylan Raiola is making. Or you had Matt Rule last week say that the running backs are great running backs. And the only one that's even moderately tested is Emmett Johnson, who was only tested at the end of the year and had 500 yards. And now you're saying you have great running backs and you have a quarterback that's making throws that you've never seen.
Yeah, I guess it depends who's saying it, right? Like, I don't think you can blame a coach during fall camp when talking to media that is going to be public that the players are going to see for using at least some of that time to instill confidence in his players.
Right.
If it's another voice who's commenting on or critiquing team, maybe that's a different discussion. And frankly, I mean, we know Dylan Raiola has I don't think anybody would deny Dylan Raiola has the ceiling to do the types of things.
No doubt.
We saw it last year a few times.
Yes.
In terms of making those throws. He didn't do it for a chunk of the year. I think injuries were a part of that, but I think his own, kind of lack of experience might have played in that too. And so the real question isn't whether or not he can do that. I don't think. We've seen it. It's just, can he do it consistently? Can he do it against good defenses?
Yeah, there you go. Jack Mitchell, host of Jack and Friends weekday mornings here on KLIN. Also, Drive Time Lincoln host as well, but he knows a ton about Nebraska football, talks a lot about it on the show. How fascinated are you and excited are you? Because I really am. A guy that's never punted before is going to be punting in a football game. And he's apparently the most interesting man in the world, Archie Wilson.
I don't know. He's legitimately, I mean, maybe Dylan Raiola won, but he's right now the second most famous football player at Nebraska. I think, which is crazy given he hasn't played it down. He's a punter. I don't know. Like, I still don't quite know how all of the sort of like the trick shot of it all is going to translate into games. Now, I now understand that if he can kick with both feet, it gives him options on which way he goes on a rugby-style punt.
Right.
But beyond that, like, I mean, is he going to get up there and do like a Ronaldo bicycle kick, punt his backwards? You know, what are we talking about here in terms of the value of some of like the really unique stuff? To me, Tom, what I want to see, you know what sounds really cool and sounds sexy to me? A punt that rolls out of bounds at the 4-yard line, however it comes off its foot. That sounds hot to me.
Apparently, he can do it.
Not returnable punt.
Yeah, he can do that apparently left or right-footed. You just tell him what you want on a given play.
Tom, I don't care if he does it with his head. I mean, however.
Is that legal? I don't know that would. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm fascinated with special teams in general, whether it's punting, whether it's holding for field goals, whether it's kicking the field goals, whether it's covering kickoffs, whether it's covering punts, whether it's returning punts. If they could do any of those things just moderately well, I think it might be worth 1 or 2 more wins.
No doubt. And it was so bad that it feels like it's got to be better. It's hard to imagine, when you can't snap the ball. What an impact that is. And then with the resume, frankly, Eckler's done it at several places. That said, I think you've had guys or specialists that you were confident in before and it didn't pan out. And so this is kind of the whole thing. Hey, let me see it before I get too positive. But I think you're right. Like if they can bring that up, not even to top 20 special teams in the nation, if they can bring it up to average, like that's multiple wins, I think, to be honest.
Well, think about they lost the Illinois game because of special teams. They lost the Iowa game probably because of special teams. And they tried to lose the Boston College game and several others because of special teams. It feels like it feels like if you could just do it somewhat well, you might have 7 wins. And then maybe, who knows what happens after that, it feels like, I don't know if what are you buying for the ceiling and the floor for this team this year, Jack?
Man, it is a wide range this year because there's just not that many players or that you feel like you totally know who they are.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's a lot of players that you've seen a little bit, right? That you've seen in part-time roles or that you've seen at another school. But so many of these guys, we don't know what they're going to look like when they're the man at the position that they're in. And so, what's Dane Key look like here at Nebraska? What's he able to do? What's Rocco Spindler? Talk about all the transfers. And then you talk about the guys on defense who we've seen look really good, show a high ceiling, but we've not seen them do it full time. Riley Van Poppel, Vincent Shavers, McGahee, Jerry Judy. There's a whole bunch of them. All Heinrich Harburg at tight end, to be honest. There's all these guys that you're like, wow, I've got kind of a hope they could be really good, but we just haven't seen it. And so I think there are a whole bunch of variables where you've got a high ceiling, but on the other hand, right, there are guys that they're not proven as full-time players either. And so it's so hard to predict. So I think it's wide. Like, I mean, I think it would be hard to imagine that it's not an improvement from last year. It really, I hope that is not in the cards. But having a feeling that having a season that sort of feels like that is probably the floor. And I don't know. I don't want to get people mad because I'm being too positive if I really say what the ceiling is. I'm not sure. I mean, they're set up. We say this every year, it feels like, but one more year, Tom, they're set up with the schedule this year.
Yep.
They keep getting, they're not going to get this every year, but they got it this year.
Hey, yeah, you win those first 3 and then no Sharon Moore, Michigan. Who knows what shape they're in? Maybe they struggle with the Oklahoma. Maybe they struggle with Nebraska. Who knows what that will do to their team, the NCAA sanctions. They're going to be really good defensively, but I think Nebraska could be really good offensively. How good is Nebraska? I think what comes down to me is the big question mark on this team, I think, for everyone is the defense and the defensive line in particular. It sounds like the offense has been dominating the first 2 scrimmages. maybe it's just because the offense is great, but sometimes in your head as a Nebraska fan, you worry that the defense might be just bad. But I think if the defense is good or even somewhat good, it could be a good year for Nebraska football.
Yeah, I think what I feel confident in is you're going to have improvements on offensive coordinating, play calling.
Yes.
And you're going to have improvements on special teams because of coaching.
Yes.
Beyond, I think Dylan Raiola, by virtue of another year, is going to have a level of improvement. I feel confident in that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I don't know a whole lot. Like I don't
either.
know a whole lot.
Nobody does.
That, to be honest.
But
Yeah.
Iowa wins 8-9 games every year because they have good coaching. Nebraska usually has more talent and loses that game. You get good coaches, maybe you win that game. Good stuff, Jack. Always like having you on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great to talk to you, Tom. Looking forward to doing it again sometime.
There you go. Jack Mitchell, host of Jack and Friends mornings on 1400 KLIN. He's also a host of Drive Time Lincoln. He's a versatile guy.
He is a busy man.
He's a busy man. He hosts the morning. Then he has to, I'm guessing, maybe a nap. Then gets up and then hosts Drive Time Lincoln. And then he has to get up and do it the next day.
I would certainly hope there's a nap in there.
I love naps.
I'm
really good at naps.
They are great.
You know, the thing, I don't know of anything else that you can do to benefit your body than a 20-minute nap. In 20 minutes, what benefits your body more?
I can't think of anything. The worst part, though, is when you want to take a 20-minute nap and it turns into a 4-hour nap. That's the worst. Yeah, you've got to stop it. You got to stop yourself after no more than an hour. Yeah. I think an hour nap is okay. I agree.
But you're right. A 4-hour nap, then you can't sleep at night. Mm-hmm. We were talking about single-digit jerseys with Jack. I thought that Matt Rule had a really good explanation on the single-digit jersey. Here he is.
I'm really proud of Sierra. Sierra wore number 2 at USC as a freshman, and then didn't have it as a sophomore, and really wanted that number. And when we did the original vote, like he was one of the top vote getters. Okay, and but the way it turned out, like Corey, like maybe some more offensive guys voting this year. He got maybe like one more vote than Sierra, and so Sierra had a decision make. Do I want to stay here? And obviously, it had a tremendous personal significance. But as I said to him, and I think the thing that he realized is his teammates voted for him. So it's not necessarily the number that I want to wear. It's the fact that when I walk out there, when I walk out in the stadium and I have a single digit, everyone in the crowd, everyone, the opponents, every opponent, every scout, every person in this building, you guys, we all know that, hey, you know what? His teammates voted for him for that. So, so there was really no surprises. There was a bunch of other guys, Emmett Johnson, Cam Lenhart, they were like a vote off. It's the closest vote I probably have ever had. So much so that I went to Corey and I was like, I think I might add a couple guys. And I actually texted Terrell Bernard, who's an all-pro for the Bills. I'm like, hey, Terrell, what do you think about a couple extra ones? And he was like, Coach, I think that ruins it. And I went to Corey, and Corey's, he always puts me back in my place. He's truth to power. He's like, no, there used to be 9, now there's 10 because of 0. Let's do that. So, but Javen Wright, 7 seasons, 4 season-ending injuries, 4 season-ending. That doesn't count the Labor Me tour. 4 season-ending injuries. 3 times he was told to change his position. That to me is amazing. So, I think our team did a great job of voting, and I think this is one of the deepest drafts they could have had in terms of who to vote for.
I thought they did a pretty good job. It doesn't go necessarily to the best players. Dylan Raiola didn't get a single digit, and again, maybe he turned it down. Maybe he just I want to be 15, and he turned it down. But Javen Wright, who's going into his 7th year, I think that might be a record. Certainly a Nebraska record. I don't know if it's a college football record, but 7 years in college, and he's been through blood clots and all sorts of different types of injuries. He gets the number 0. Mm-hmm. I think they started out doing 1 through 9, and then you got 9 other players that get the jerseys. Some were young players in the program, some were older players, some were guys that played a lot. Some were guys that were just tough, like Janiron Bonner, Vincent Shavers at number 9, just because everybody thinks he's going to be really good. And again, your peers are voting. Yeah. You as a coach don't really have a lot. Maybe you make suggestions as what they should look for in a player, but you don't know as a coach in many cases who's going to get the numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a guy that you don't want to have a number because you don't think he's maybe I think the culture right now at Nebraska is really good.
I agree.
So they don't have to worry about the problem child. But in some cases in the past, maybe there were certain guys that you didn't want to be elected captain, that
There's
were
a
elected
mutiny.
captain because, they could cause a mutiny or other things. And it looked like at times, and maybe they did, based on the product on the field. But I think it's a good idea because then you don't have high school kids saying, I want number one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come to your school if you give me the number that I want.
Yeah.
No, why don't you just go earn it? How about that? Let's get to break and come back with more stuff from Matt Rule. And then at the top of the hour, we've got Jaylen Reyes, Nebraska volleyball coach, maybe the best volleyball recruiter in the country. And he'll talk a little Husker volleyball with us. And later on, Jay Foreman, Nebraska linebacker. He goes to a lot of Husker practices. So curious to catch up with Jay and see what he says and what he sees on a daily basis from Nebraska football. Let's get to break. Away for a while on sabbatical. He'll be back the first week of September, Labor Day weekend, to talk Husker football and recap the Nebraska-Cincinnati game. Mentioned that Nebraska, talking about this with Jack, that Nebraska will wear alternative unis, all black uniforms for the USC game. Kind of cool. I'm not a big alternative uniform guy. Do you like them, Brian?
I think they can be done well, and I think they can be done poorly. So I think they looked pretty cool.
But Matt Rule mentioned that it's all that the kids and the 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-olds ask him about.
Yeah.
It's like, and I know I sound like a get off my lawn guy. I don't hate them. I think they can be really cool. I just don't think you should overdo them. I don't like it when, in some cases, it's Oregon or somebody else.
Yeah.
Runs out of the field and you go, who's that?
Mhm.
You don't even recognize any of the colors because none of the colors are theirs.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't love that part of it, but once a year I don't mind alternative uniforms, and the black is cool if you're going to go all black because the black shirts obviously are a thing. You have a nickname there. I'm wondering, this is going to be probably if they move that USC game November 1st to a night game and have a blackout. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures online, like what Memorial Stadium would look like as a blackout, and it's really cool.
I don't know if you've seen the poster, but they photographed a poster with some of the football players in Seward. They were in a cornfield wearing the alternative unis, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Dylan Raiola said he was getting bitten like crazy, but he enjoyed the experience of it. So we'll see what happens with the blackout, if there is a blackout. But they're definitely wearing the unis during the USC game on November 1st. New nickname for Nebraska punter Archie Wilson. I don't know if you heard this last week. Do you like nicknames? Do you have a nickname, Brian?
I do have a nickname, actually.
What's your nickname?
My nickname is Scooter.
A lot of times a nickname doesn't stick.
It unfortunately has stuck with me. It was a nickname that I got my first year of college, and it has been with me ever since.
You're a girlfriend do that, or some guy friend? What?
No, the paper I write under a pseudonym, Scooter, and that's.
Well, yeah, that sounds like a journalist.
Yeah,
you wear the hat, and you're called Scooter.
Yeah, I kind of got it from the Muppets character.
You ever remember the Seinfeld episode where he wanted to be called T-Bone? But they called him Coco the monkey or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't pick your nickname. You want to pick your nickname, but you can't.
You gotta have it placed upon you.
Archie Wilson is the new punter at Nebraska, and he's already being called the crocodile punter. And now that seems too long. I don't think that long of a nickname will stick.
It's
the
long,
crocodile
but
punter.
I think it will strike fear into opposers' hearts.
You like it?
I do. I think it got a nice ring to it.
There are other famous nicknames in Nebraska lore. Keith Endzone Jones is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny the Jet Rogers is the most famous.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. He won a Heisman. He's Johnny the Jet. I mean, I think Lyle Bremser might have christened him Johnny the Jet. I don't know if that happened through Lyle or how it happened, but that's probably the most famous one. Broderick Thomas was known as the Sandman because he put people to sleep.
Yeah.
George Andrews was called the Smiling Assassin. He was a good player, played in the NFL for quite a while. Nash Hutmaker, who just graduated from Nebraska, was called the Polar Bear. Kind of cuddly guy, big teddy bear type guy. And apparently Heinrich Harburg is called Tank Commander Heinrich Harburg. I didn't know that he had a nickname.
That is an
I've never heard
one.
anybody call him that. I don't think that's a thing. There was Tony Davis, who was a good running back in the day, called Tough Tony Davis. And Irving the Friar Flyer. There are a lot of other nicknames, but those were some of my favorites. Archie Wilson. I wish I had some of the stuff. He went viral.
Yeah.
Because he got emotional at a Nebraska press conference last week. Mitch Sherman, friend of mine, who writes for The Athletic, asked him a question about, missing home. Do you miss home? It's a long flight. You're long ways from family. And I believe his family is coming in for 3 games this year.
Yeah.
But then he broke down for like 15 seconds and that went viral. And he was on some show called Australia Today, and the whole family was on that show, and kind of made Nebraska famous and him more famous.
Yeah.
But this is what Matt Rule had to say about his new punter, Archie Wilson.
I've never enjoyed punt periods in my life, but it's my favorite period of practice right now. I just could watch Archie punt all day. I've never seen anything like it. So it's like watching a YouTube short. I mean, the guy's amazing. So what he does. So I used to walk over the O-line during punt period, or kind of stand to the side. Now I'm out there like with popcorn because it's really a fun thing to watch. I hope we don't punt a lot, but when we do, it'll be fun. We're going to go to Arrowhead Stadium and play at 8:00 at night with a kicker who can kick with both feet and kick all the kicks. It'll be the first ever football game he's ever played in, I believe. He's never played in a football game before. Now he might come up and say, "No, I played." To what Eck told me last night, I didn't. I knew he was at Pro Kick or whatever. As a Pro Kick. Someone wrote a story about it, right? Pro Kick. I don't want to make sure. Thank you, Pro Kick. But he's never played in a game before. It'll be his first ever football game.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Apparently he can kick with either leg. He's good at it. Matt Rule said this weekend during the live scrimmage yesterday, they tried to rush him. He said a lot of teams won't know how to handle him because he has it's a rugby kick.
Mm-hmm.
And it spins weird in the air and it's not easy to catch.
Yeah.
So it'll be good for Nebraska to learn how to catch weird balls from their Australian punter, Archie Wilson. But also he can kick with either foot. And so hopefully he's really good. I mean, Nebraska, as we talked with Jack, Nebraska was so terrible at special teams. It was more than laughable. It was ridiculously bad to the point where they brought in Mike Eckler, who was known as a very good special teams coach at Tennessee. He had coached here before under Bo Pelini. He came back. And I remember at press conferences, reporters who knew Mike Eckler and knew his success at Tennessee were asking Matt Rule, why don't you get Mike Eckler to fix the problem? You can't even snap the ball. You can't block for a kick. You can't hold for a kick. And then even when you have those things happen, you do hold and you block for a kick. You can't make the kick. So you ought to get somebody who really knows special teams. So he did. But he was like, I don't know who Mike Eckler is. And then he checked into him and he realized this guy's really good.
This guy knows
He
his
brought him
stuff.
in for an interview. He realized that he's insane, Mike Eckler, in a good way. Mike Eckler is insane in a good way. I don't know that he would ever be a head coach at the University of Nebraska or anywhere else. He's just one of those guys on your coaching staffs that's perfect doing what he's doing. Being the special teams coach. And people, apparently players are buying in. Again, more Kool-Aid. We're getting a lot of Kool-Aid this offseason.
It's sweeter with each drink.
It's our favorite drink in the offseason in Nebraska. But at some point, if you keep drinking the Kool-Aid, it's not going to taste like cyanide.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bad analogy. I don't know. No. Maybe at some point it's going to really be Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
When you drink it.
That's
because
the hope.
You're thinking you're drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's sour milk because it doesn't go down well. You feel like you've been lied to, and I think Nebraska fans feel like that a little bit over the years that they hadn't made a bowl game until last year. 7 straight years. The Scott Frost era didn't work out. The Mike Riley era was not good. The Bo Pelini era was pretty good, but he was abrasive.
Yeah.
Now you think you've got a guy in Matt Rule that's the real deal. It's year number 3. He's always been great in year number 3. He was great at Temple, turned the program around after winning, 1 or 2 games the first year. Same thing at Baylor with all the scandal and Art Briles being thrown out and the players doing horrible things on the campus of Baylor. They get Matt Rule and they turn the program around. But then he leaves to the NFL and it doesn't work out at Carolina. He gets the call from Trev Alberts, and give credit. I know we don't like to praise Trev Alberts around here, but praise Trev for, at least on paper, it looks like Nebraska got the right guy. The culture seems to be good. It seems to be a player-led team.
Yeah.
Are all those things true? I don't know. I have no idea.
Let's hope.
We got 11 days to find out. It's Nebraska-Cincinnati and Arrowhead. That game should have been played at Cincinnati. They moved it to Arrowhead, and I'm thankful that it is because it's going to be 70,000 Nebraska fans, most likely. It's going to be a home game. But they need to win it.
Yes, they do.
I mean, those fans that say, hey, just win, baby. They go, Al Davis. I kind of agree with them. You got to start winning.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to win big, maybe, and I'm not talking win big. I'm talking 8-9 wins to get to next year, and maybe it's 10-11. Maybe you're in the college football playoff. Who knows? Maybe it happens this year. We'll be back hour number 2. We've got the man Jaylen Reyes talking volleyball. Comes up next.
999.3 KLIN.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby will be back. First week in September to recap Nebraska versus Cincinnati. Last night, in case you missed it, Nebraska played Nebraska, but Nebraska played not the red-white game. That happened the week before, but the Nebraska current team, number 1 ranked in the country, played the alums, and boy, was that fun. Man, it was a fun match to watch. It's amazing, Jaylen, that we don't do that every year. We got to do this every year. That was so fun last night.
It was awesome. I mean, first, just like having all the legends back. I mean, it's cool to have, we spend so much time talking about the people with their names on the wall. And obviously, we have Kelly around every day, and Jordan's been on staff, and some of the younger players have their names on the wall. But it's, it was awesome. Just having those guys there. The fans are into it. The ovation those guys got even an hour before the game during warm-ups was really cool. And then obviously the match ended up being really, really good. And I think some people forget, like, a lot of those guys on the other side of the net are being paid now to play volleyball.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I couldn't have, as a coach, like, sometimes those exhibitions, they can get a little squirrely and you don't maybe get the best type of game feel.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And the fact that it was super competitive because all those guys are still really good players. Some of them are actually probably even better volleyball players than they were in college.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just, and then of course you get like Jordan on that side, and Kelly's still a really, really world-class setter. And, it leads to, fourth set and a bunch of really close sets. And I don't know, it was just a really cool celebration for those guys as well. And kind of for our current team to see like, hey, like, this is going to be you guys one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Jaylen Reyes, Nebraska assistant volleyball coach, is with us. And the other thing is Jordan Larson played in the Olympics. She wants to win. She wants to rip your heart out, probably, as well. I mean, even Kelly Hunter, who coaches these girls every day, I'm guessing Lauren's difference. Those girls want to win.
Oh yeah. There's like, some of them were coming in, getting reps earlier in the week. They weren't just doing it as like, hey, we're just going to show up and get my butt kicked by the current team. It was like, competitive. Renee Saunders, Val Novak, they're on the bench coaching up a storm to like actually try to beat us, which was, I think, is what you kind of want in those situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know some programs shy away from doing the alumni thing because one, they just, they feel you kind of have to, per NCAA rules, you have to use a competition date. So sometimes people don't feel like, maybe you don't get as much out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I think in the past we've talked about doing it, but it just timing doesn't work out, with current players or maybe people's schedules and stuff like that. Like you mentioned, Jordan playing the Olympics. The Olympics are usually going on right now every 4 years, right?
Uh-huh.
Or some, there would have been some other Nebraska players here too, former ones that are maybe currently with Team USA, but they're getting ready to go overseas to the World Championships, like Lexi Rodriguez. So Lexi was going to play, but obviously she got called to the national team. They're going down to Indonesia here, Thailand here in a little bit. But yeah, no, it was awesome. And it was just, it was really cool to see those guys, but it's also like really weird seeing all those faces on the other side of that.
Right. Yeah.
Since I've been here now, I've coached a few of them that were on the other side or, have worked with Kelly and Jordan. It's kind of weird seeing those guys on the other side of the net because usually they're always on our side of the net.
Right. Well, and you coached a lot of them as well when they were at Nebraska. Jaylen Reyes, Nebraska volleyball assistant. I've heard coaches say, hey, it's my job to recruit great players that are better than you, and it's your job to beat them out. And that's sure what this team is so loaded. Last year, they had 14 players. This year, 17. Nobody left. What's that tell you about Nebraska's volleyball culture right now?
I think it just shows Nebraska volleyball is bigger than anybody, and it's not just one person. It's not, and if Coach Cook was here, he would tell you it's not just John Cook. It's not Jordan Larson. It's not Jaylen Reyes. It's not even Danny Busboom Kelly. It's bigger than all of us, and
right.
I think that's why a lot of people and even the current team, they just want to be a part of it. And there's so many people, whether that's coaches and players and recruits that really want to be a part of it. And I think it's also just a testament to, the culture that Coach Cook, continued from Coach Pettit. and that the fact that like he's passing it off to Danny, a lot of our players from the previous year trusted coach's decision, and trusted Danny, and that's probably why a lot of them, either still, decided to still stay here. Freshmen, they could have opened up their, commitments and gone somewhere else, but they all decided that at the end of the day they wanted to come play for Danny, but they wanted to be a part of Nebraska volleyball, and I think that's that's a responsibility that we have as coaches to upkeep.
Yeah. We've got Jay Foreman coming up. He won 3 national titles with Nebraska football in the 90s. And he always told me that after practice on a Thursday or a Friday, there's nothing they could face on, they might lose, but there was nothing they could face on Saturday that was going to frighten them. And they knew they were really prepared. Nebraska volleyball players have to feel that way every day as well. I mean, there's nothing we can face this week that's harder than this.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is since I've been a part of the program now, going on 8 years now. This is the most players we've had, but it's like really, really hard to find, like a weak spot in terms of, hey, who's our worst player? Ask me that, I would struggle. Even off the record, I would struggle to tell you who that is.
Even best player is not easy.
Oh no, I mean it's like everyone's just really good. Obviously, there's depends on the day, and that's what's really important in athletics, right? Is in terms of you have to show up and do it every day. But I mean, my opinion, this is by far the deepest team we've had. We've also, there's just more players, but kids are coming in to college. I think even more ready to play in college because of how much volleyball they play coming in.
Right.
And now it's crazy, and it's not just here in Nebraska. I think it's all these other schools, and then obviously I think a little bit of the rules with the roster limits and the expansion of a number of scholarships that also probably helps too, in terms of we're able to financially give more scholarships than we were a few years ago, so that allows us to have more better players.
Right.
If that makes sense. But
yes.
I mean, yeah, to your credit, I mean, there's a lot of great teams around the country, but between, again, I'm not in every gym, but I would be hard pressed to find the gym deeper than us at all the positions.
Right.
If that makes sense. That doesn't mean necessarily we're going to win.
No.
But in terms of like each and every week, I would think there'd be a lot of programs that'd be like, wow, 1 through 17, Nebraska's pretty deep.
Well, it seems like it would be a good problem to have too much talent, but maybe it's not. I mean, how much do coaches lose sleep over trying to figure out lineups?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in my opinion, it's definitely a problem that I'd rather have versus maybe the other way where man, I don't have that many good players, and we're having to play against, we're having to be in the Big Ten and have not, we don't have the upper echelon players in the conference. Now we're struggling to play against the teams that we need to beat. But yeah, no, it is tough. And some positions are so close, so close in terms of the competition and to get to play and stuff like that. So, for us, it's just, I don't know if we're like that close to settling on a lineup in terms of, hey, this is what we think. Obviously we're going to play a real match here coming up on Friday against Pitt, and we're going to have to put, 7-8 people out there. But this is going to be something that's going to be kind of, not, not to be cliche, but it's going to be earned, not given.
Right. Yeah. We're talking with Jaylen Reyes, Nebraska volleyball assistant. There's got to be somewhat of a fine line. I mean, you want to stay number one, but you also want to see what you have. And because the competition is so close, and you have 2 great setters, and you have so many good outside hitters, and you have some really good young middle blockers as well. How do you figure all that out within the framework of competition, knowing that you want to win the game, but you also want to have competition within your system?
Right. I mean, I think a lot of that is just in practice, not doing a straight up, to use a football term. Like I hear NFL people talking about the NFL, right? They're talking about, oh, this quarterback's taking all the reps with the ones and this guy's taking the reps with the twos. We don't really do that in practice. We haven't really done that at all so far. There's no group you can look over at and go, oh, those are clearly the ones, and then those are the twos. It's just mixed to make sure that it's, hey, everyone's going to get to play with everybody. So that way, we if we do put you in a match, You know, we don't miss a beat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not really a ones and twos thing right now. I think every team, no matter what the sport is, they get to a point of the season where it kind of works out its way. You know, we always I feel like in coaching, I've always kind of felt like the kids decide it. Like at the end of the day, maybe in the beginning of the season, the coaches do. But at the end of the day, like toward the end of the season, when it really, really comes down to winning time, the kids decide it, if that makes sense. Sure, we're the ones writing the lineup on a card or making a sub. But usually it's the players decide who's the players or not, if that makes sense.
And they know, right? They know.
Right. Exactly. So there's a point, and obviously I think Danny's done such a really good job in terms of like, okay, not mixing lineups up literally every day in practice. You know, Harper Murray's playing with this setter one day, and then she's playing with Campbell the next day, and she's playing Bergen the next. It's not a, hey, we're gonna just throw, you know, older kids on one team and the younger kids on the other. We're kind of mixing it up, and then just relaying the message each and every day that, hey, no spot is in concrete right now. Everything's gonna be fluid. Everyone's gonna play with everybody, and you kind of have to earn it each and every day. And I don't know, the girls have done a really, really good job. And I think Danny at the top has done an unbelievable job with all of this.
Well, John Cook, obviously a Hall of Famer. He didn't know when he was going to retire, but he decided it was going to be this year. And he knew it was going to be Danny Busboom, but he also knew that he wanted to keep a great recruiter like Jaylen Reyes around. How did that dynamic work? I mean, not having worked with Danny Busboom before and Kelly Hunter, same way. How did that all work out so well?
Danny, if I'm being honest, I feel like Danny being the next Nebraska coach has been like the biggest non-secret in volleyball.
Yes.
Around the state of Nebraska for the last, 4 or 5 years. So Danny and I have like had conversations throughout the years. Sometimes like jokingly, like me and her will be she'll be recruiting for Louisville, I'll be recruiting for Nebraska, and she's asking me, hey, who are you looking at? And usually it's pretty obvious who I'm looking at. You know, if I'm standing on a court, you can kind of tell who Nebraska or Louisville's looking at, or Texas or Stanford.
Right.
And I would always kind of joke with her, like, well, what do you think of this player X? And she's like, well, I think she's good. Why? And I look at her like, well, I think you're going to be coaching her one day, kind of like laugh about it. You know, she sits there, denies it, laughs. But then like actually proceeds to give me her opinion, because I think she probably knew like, well, yeah, I mean, like, Danny, I want to help you be successful when John's done. Obviously we had no idea when John's going to be done or not.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. I think there was a lot of collaboration between Coach and Danny. I feel like Danny and I we'd always connect whenever we were out recruiting, or her and I have worked some USA volleyball stuff together throughout the years, and we've always just chatted about stuff. And I think we always had this, this mutual, she knew what I was going through because she once was me. If that makes sense, you know, being a John Cook assistant and his recruiting coordinator, and obviously her familiarity with the program, and obviously her being from Nebraska and playing for Nebraska really helps. So
yeah.
I think the transition really, and obviously, like, you know, if I spoke for Kelly, I think she would feel the same. Plus, she was also coached by Danny, you know, so
yeah.
This wasn't, we're getting to know each other in the office, but I don't feel like personality wise, I felt like we all kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into from day one. Now it was just like, how do we go about each other around the office? How do we go about each other in practice? But in terms of like the personality piece, I don't feel like,
right.
I feel like I've known her for a long period of time, and I feel like she's known me for a little while. You know, now it's just like, okay, how does Jaylen react? How does Jaylen in a meeting on a Monday morning kind of a thing? And how is Danny, if that makes sense?
So I'm guessing it was probably a bigger adjustment for the players really than you, but you did have to get to know her style. I'm guessing there are certain things that she does that John Cook didn't do, and vice versa.
For sure. Yeah. It's all those little details, which are really important, but you know, how she runs practices, how she runs drills. You know, I think one thing is how she mixes the team. You know, that was stuff that maybe John necessarily didn't do. You know, her philosophy on recruiting, you know, every coach looks at the game differently, right? What she proceeds to talk about in meetings versus John, they're just different, right? Like, you know, usually I would say if you're coaching football, right? If you tend to be a defensive minded person, coach, or a defensive coordinator, you're going to probably start your meeting talking about your defense all the time. You know what I mean? There's just certain lenses that people or humans look at things. And that's very different than how John did it, you know? So just adjusting to that, I think has been the biggest thing. And then I also think, like, honestly, one of the biggest adjustments, I think the one that had to adjust the most was Danny herself.
Yeah.
You know, she's got a new job. She just recently had a baby in May. You know, she had to move here. And on top of that, like what you said, nobody left. So everybody, it was like Danny was the one new thing around the place, if that makes sense, you know, especially in the spring. So I think Danny had to do the most adjusting, and she was trying to do, you know, I've heard it was like the most stressful things in life are getting a new job, having a baby, and moving. And she tried to do all three of those at the same time, you know? So, like, if I'm being honest, I think the one that's had the most transition is Danny herself. But again, her and John have been, I would assume they've been talking about this for years, you know, and obviously her familiarity with the state and with the program and with a lot of our players, you know, just because she was so connected to Coach Cook, even though, you know, she was a competitor at another competitive program, it wasn't like we treated her like an enemy, if that makes sense. So, I think the transition has gone unbelievably well. You know, I think the biggest pull at the end of the day is we do all this for the players, and the fact that all the players are happy and none of them left, for me, that's like, you know, you could say, oh, it's been going great, but it, like, you know, you look at other coaching transitions, half the teams are transferring, high school players are decommitting.
Yes.
Assistant coaches are leaving, right?
Yeah.
None of that happened here.
No.
You know, so for me, it's like, okay, you can say nothing's going on, but then everything else is changing around the program. Nothing's really changed here. Just the person at the top has changed.
They say the hardest thing to do, or one of the hardest things to do in sports, is replacing, you know, a legend. Tom Osborne had to replace Bob Devaney. John Wooden was eventually replaced by Gene Bartow. And there are others that, and most times it doesn't go well. John Cook had success, obviously, after Terry Pettit, which is tough because he was a legend. But Danny just seems to have that personality where it doesn't affect her as much as some other personalities might.
I think one, just her being a young mom, you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm seeing it firsthand just with, you know, I've gone around the house recently. It's like, you know, hey, yeah, maybe we're struggling playing defense at this, we're struggling serving the ball that day, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's like she's going through so much stuff now. I think it gives her like a different perspective.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It brings like a calmness to the team, you know, and then it's kind of on me, Brennan, and Kelly to make sure we are helping her with all of this stuff, if that makes sense. And that doesn't mean like she doesn't care about this stuff, but I think it just, in terms, I think that perspective that she's going through right now, especially with her, you know, with the new family and new young growing family and all the changes she's just recently had in life, I think there's a little bit of, you know, hey, some things are big deals and some things are not that big a deal, and some things we can change and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's been a really, just personality wise, she's so different from John, and both are great. They're just different. And you know, it's been a really, really awesome change, if I'm being honest with you.
This is going to be a fun season. Kick off with Pittsburgh, August 22nd, 6:00 in Lincoln. Then you've got Stanford on the 24th in Lincoln, Lipscomb, and then Kentucky down the road with Coach Skinner. I mean, this is going to be a fun month.
Yeah, it sounds like we get to tiptoe through the start of the season, huh? You know,
yeah, that's right. Well, that's what you signed up for. That's Nebraska volleyball.
Love it. Love
it. Great to have you on. Thank you so much, Jaylen.
No problem. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me, as always.
There you go. Jaylen Reyes, Nebraska volleyball assistant. Hope the sound was good for you. He's always fun to talk to. He's one of the best recruiters in the entire country. I mean, you look at Nebraska's class. Oh, high school All-American. Oh, best player in the country. And he had a hand in recruiting them all.
Yeah, big mover and shaker.
He is. If he wants to be a head coach, he'll be a great head coach. His dad was a head coach. He was a very good college volleyball player. Jaylen, his career path is already just shooting straight up. But if he wants to be a head coach at some point, he will make a fabulous, fabulous head coach, without a doubt. Let's get to break. Come back with more. Speaking of Hall of Famers, Jay Foreman played 8 years in the NFL vet, most famously the Buffalo Bills, but he also was a 3-time national champ with Nebraska football. He goes to a lot of practices. We'll get his takes on Nebraska football coming up.
It is cold. The winter has gone south. I mean, the weather has gone south, or whatever it is. It's cold enough to make a brass monkey clink, I'll tell you that.
On Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
The offense was extremely efficient. You know, you get to know Dana Holgerson from what you see on TV or you hear about what he's done statistically, and when you see the magic behind it, it's pretty cool because it's all just routine plays. I think he said that in his press conference. Did he say routine plays, you guys? Like, he says it all the time. It's like you kind of hear it, and all of a sudden you realize, like, he really means it. Like, just make routine plays. Just make this play over and over again, and then guess what? You're going to spin out and go make a special play out of a routine play. So I saw a lot of that. The defense fought back. You know, the offense got off to a hot start. The defense fought back, and they had they got a turnover for a touchdown. So
Nebraska's second scrimmage camp has wound down. It is over. And now 11 days before Nebraska kicks it off in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City versus Cincinnati, 8:00 start. Of course, you can hear it right here on 1400 KLIN. Bring in former Nebraska football star, 3-time national champion Jay Foreman, who goes to Nebraska practices and talks a lot of Husker football on the radio. Jay, welcome in. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I always appreciate you guys asking me to come on.
Matt Rule talking about the offense. He talked about simple plays, and that's one of Dana Holgerson's things. Let's try to do, a less of a playbook, slim it down, and just do a few things well. Do you think Nebraska will this year?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, they have the talent to, and the want to, and they got I think they have, the mindset to do it. And I think, you saw that maybe, what was it? I think it was 3 or 4 games last year where, I think it was the same playbook, but the energy looked different. I think, Dana's personality where, he'll call guys to the carpet, if they got to do better and try harder. And so, the simple plays, I mean, I think they'll be able to do it. I think they have the talent to do it. I mean, obviously, I would be very surprised if they didn't do it, a little bit better clip than they did last year. So I'd say they do it. But so I think they will do it. But I guess if you want to think of a team that did the simple stuff like all the time, it's like the New England Patriots. That was what they did. They would. I mean, trust me, I saw it firsthand. And get the first down. Get if it's 1st and 10, or if you're backed up and you're trying to get a off schedule first down, get 6 yards. So, I think the experience of Dana, as a play caller and as a head coach and being able to kind of see how the game's change, I think it will come back to the simple things and the pitching and catching, and that's how games are won and lost.
Nebraska handed out single digits for the 3rd time in the Rule era. Anybody that wasn't on the list or was on the list that might have surprised you that got single digits?
Not really. I think, I don't really know how the process goes. I don't think anybody got left off. I mean, I think, I can't speak for Coach Rule, but I'm pretty sure he'd like to say that he has more than, 9 leaders on there, and they got some guys that have been around for a while. I think Deshaun Singleton had a single digit last year, and I think Sierra, took on one, and then Vincent Shavers and Javen. And so I don't think there's any surprises. I think, they don't get them if they didn't earn them. I mean, that's the one thing that's drastically different than before. I mean, look, when you play, you're going to come to work, and you got to kind of earn your stripes. And so, no, I'm not really surprised. I mean, I think obviously, look, Dylan's branded at 15. Emmett's kind of right there along with them. And I'm not really sure anybody else that would be in the running for it, but I think everybody that needed it, or that got it, sure they earned it.
Yeah, and in the case of Dylan, I kind of thought that maybe he would get one, but also, as you mentioned, he's kind of branded. He's got the 15, and if he was offered it, I don't know how the vote came out or if he was even in the running for it. Tommy Frazier never was also 15, and he wasn't one of the most popular guys in the world. It sometimes is that.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I think Dylan, is well liked and respected by.
Oh, I agree.
So, which is, and that, Tommy was too. He's just a competitor, and if you weren't pulling your weight, Tommy get all up in your grill. So that that's nothing wrong with that. I think, with Dylan, I think when you're in my opinion, when you're the quarterback, you are a single digit. You're the dude, and so I don't think it was a question. I think everybody always tries to look into things, I mean, like the jersey color or the black jersey and why are we doing it with USC? I think at this point in time, they know what they're doing in there. We're from the outside looking in. That they got to make. One thing I would say, those guys now, they got to validate those numbers. That's the thing that I would be saying to them. It's great you earned them. Now you got to validate them. It's almost like Tom. You make a couple birdies, you don't get paid until you validate it with a par. So
that's right.
That's the hardest thing to do, because after I make a birdie, that thing just magically finds the water.
Yeah, I like the explanation, Jay Foreman, former Nebraska linebacker, 3-time national champion. I like the explanation from Rule. It's not so I guess he got tired of handing the number 1 or 2 jersey or the favorite number from a high school recruit and said, why don't you just go earn it? Earn it from your teammates, and now they vote on it. That's one of the reasons he decided to do it, and I kind of like that explanation.
Yeah, I mean, look, these guys are, where some of them are highly compensated. Obviously come with a lot of fanfare, and I know what it was like to, have wanting certain numbers. I mean, heck, I wanted 44, had to wait for it, but I also felt like, you know, the better I played, I was able to go in and ask Glenn and Jay Moore, you know, for a new number, and obviously running by, you know, Coach Osborne at the time, and, you know, got the A-OK. So it's no different than now where, you know, if there's two guys that wore the same number or they want a single digit and know it's a, you know, kind of part of Nebraska's deal, he says, okay, that's fine. Now you got to go earn it. And so I like it. I mean, it means more. It should mean more to you when you earn it, and then it means even more when you not only keep it but validate it.
In case you didn't know, Jay's dad, Chuck Foreman, was one of the best running backs of all time and a Hall of Famer, and that's one of the reasons that he wanted to wear number 44. Nebraska will have to replace a couple of run stoppers, and maybe more than that. Ty Robinson was more than a run stopper, but Nash Hutmaker and Ty Robinson are the big question mark on the defensive line. Is that the big question mark for you for this team?
Well, sure. I mean, Ty was, you know, they both were. I mean, I think obviously Ty had his best year last year, and so that production is hard to, you know, replace, you know, at any point in time. And then Nash was right there with him, and I think the continuity that they have from experience. And then you think of, you know, complementary pieces and guys that really played well at times. Jamari Butler, you know, obviously James Williams was able to kind of get busy in a couple games. So that was a pass rush, and then MJ Sherman. And if I'm missing anybody like that, so I think it's more just the continuity. And then let's not forget Bullock. I mean, John Bullock was a dude, man. I mean, he is, you know, it was all on the line where he had to really come back his senior year, showed a little flash the year before, and then really stepped up. Besides Ty, I'd probably say, just from the outside looking in, he might have been the most consistent, you know, playmaker on the team. So it's not just the front level or the first level, it's the second level. I don't necessarily, you know, I think obviously the talent is going to be hard to replace, but I think they have you know, the depth of talent they can. I think the biggest thing is just the continuity, and that's a process that you have to work through, right? I think you got to have, like, you know, I've been through it before. You know, heck, when I started as a freshman or redshirt freshman, I hadn't played a high school game since high school, or played a game since high school, excuse me. But there was guys that, you know, like Jason Peter had to replace Terry Keneally. Grant had to go in and replace Dante Jones and Dwayne Harris. And then, you know, Farley came, you know, we kind of went through it together where we were trying to earn our stripes, and then he took it over for Terwilliger. So there, you know, we've seen it. You know, obviously 95 is a little bit different because Grant and Jason had played a lot, but I've been through it, and it just takes a little time. You know, obviously I think they have a little bit better advantage because they're able to do stuff in the off season to get that continuity together, get that togetherness, and have that identity and standard, that game in and game out that you got to accomplish. And then when guys start to find their rhythm and their identity, I think that's probably maybe the bigger thing is just identify roles, and the guys got to accentuate those roles and then go together as a team. And then they'll be able, you know, as a defensive team. And then obviously I think that'll lead to more wins.
You were part of the best Nebraska football culture of all time. The 3 national championships kind of proves it. Matt Rule thinks he has a really good player-led culture. You guys had that. What does it mean to have a player-led culture to you?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, hold each other accountable. I mean, I think we were extremely competitive. Not everybody had to be friends, but, you know, when we stepped out there on the field, we were a family. And nobody likes to fight each other more than family, as we all know. Boy, we used to get after it. But, you know, we had a standard. And, you know, here's an example. I remember, you know, I was new. You know, I was, you know, obviously a freshman playing. So, you know, I was only 18, 19 years old. And I don't know what had happened, but, you know, there was some stuff where guys maybe had been on O Street and, you know, Christian Peter kicked the coaches out of the team meeting and pretty much said, if, you know, we hear of anybody being down on O Street after, I think it's Thursday was our curfew, you got to answer to him. Now that's an extreme, you know, so now was like, hey, nobody wanted to do that. So that's where it's at. You know, you got to, because at the end of the day, when you go out there or when these guys go out there, you know, in Kansas City here in a couple of weeks, you know, it's those guys, those, you know, 11 guys that are on the field at a time that got to survive. So you got to really go through the grind together. And it's not just always being there when you mess up. It's got to be there when you do well. It's got to be there when somebody's got to be there for you. So, you know, they're going to get tested this year. And that's, and I think the best teams that are able to withstand the, you know, I guess adversity or the trials and tribulations of a season are, you know, really have guys that are, you know, willing to lay it on the line, and they don't have to be your best players. I mean, You know, the guy like Aaron Penland, you know, nobody really talks about him, but he was a dude that would just destroy people on special teams and worked every day. You know, he embraced being on scout team, and then he really, really made a name for himself on special teams. But when he, you know, I would say like guys like that talk, they're like, yeah, fuck, you know, Corey Schlesinger and all those guys, you don't need to be on the front page of the newspaper or back then, you know, in order to, you know, be a leader on the team.
Jay Foreman, former Nebraska linebacker, 3-time national champ. You mentioned game one. It's 11 days out. And you hear coaches all the time say game ones come down to special teams and, you know, not turning the ball over. What does that make sense? What are you looking for in game one in particular for Nebraska football?
Well, I mean, you know, I just want them to win. You know, I mean, just I'm looking for them to win. I mean, obviously, I want them to, you know, dominate, you know, and I'm just expecting that Cincinnati's going to give you your best shot. But, you know, I'm looking for them to win, you know, be physical, you know, execute what's been being called. And, you know, that's what you really look for. You know, it's the first game. It's the only game that's going to be playing. It's at 8:00 at night. It's prime time. It's essentially a bowl game, right? A bowl game atmosphere is going to be, you know, 60, you know, I don't know how many, was it 80,000 people in that stadium? And,
70 some.
And,
yeah,
and 60,000 would be in Nebraska. So, you know, it's going to be on and popping. And so you just see how they handle, you know, I guess all the, you know, the kudos, and then how they handle the game. And obviously the most important thing is getting the W.
Outside the quarterback position, what's your biggest area of concern and then the biggest strength for this team, you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily know if there's one. I think the biggest thing is that, yes, you know, I don't know I'm trying to maybe like the jack position, I guess. You know, you probably know McCullough, and then who's going to come in there and be the, you know, because you need more than one to play. You know, I think the thing is that's different than before. I think they have a lot of options, and so now it's up to the players to continue to make themselves the answers.
Yeah.
So I think just because the jack position, at least from my small knowledge, is the one that's, you know, can really make things go. And you got one that you got out of the portal. You're waiting for, you know, the growth and maturation of, you know, Willis McGahee, and I forget the other guy, number 94. And so you just never know who can come. So if you get that going, and maybe that's the most, but it's not really, you know, it's not like you got a stiff there, but you got to have some depth. So I think, I don't necessarily know if there's a position group, but I don't really look at it like that. I think the biggest thing really is continuing to learn how to win. And that's everybody, you know? And so I know it's a generic answer, but the art of winning is a lost art. And Matt Rule is trying to bring that back. I mean, the art of winning is, you know, that first game is, you know, it'd be great, you know, throw for, I don't know, 400 yards and that, but really, does anybody really care if you throw for 240 and you get the dub? You know, the dub winners is, you know, you don't want hollow stats. So I think it's one of those things that probably just learning how to win and continue to win and have a winning mindset.
Yeah, it feels like teams like Iowa have had that, or Minnesota have had that. Not great teams, but they kind of know how to win, especially close games. Nebraska obviously has struggled in that area. Maybe fix special teams and turnovers, and you've got that solved. But it'll be fun. 11 days out, Nebraska versus Cincinnati, 8:00 on this station, 1400 KLIN. Jay, we always appreciate talking to you. We hope to talk to you again this year.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Nebraska linebacker, a great one. Jay Foreman played 8 years in the NFL and a 3-time national champ. Wore his dad's number. I enjoyed that little story. I didn't know what he had to go through, but he couldn't get the number right away. His dad, Chuck Foreman. I'm a big Vikings fan.
Yeah.
Chuck Foreman played for the Vikings back in the 70s and early 80s. Just invented the spin move way before Barry Sanders. There was Chuck Foreman and the spin move. And of course, I think at one time Jay wanted to go to Miami, and his dad said, no, I like Nebraska for you. Mm-hmm. And I think he also wanted to be a running back at one time, but defense was his calling. Linebacker, he was really good at it. Probably not his dad, but I think he would tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, a Hall of Famer, but he was a really good college player and then a great pro as well, as evidence of playing 8 years in the NFL. Let's get the break. One final segment. Husker Rewind. Appreciate you sitting in, Brian.
Hey, happy to be here.
Brian Streeter is the producer. I'm Tom Stevens. Mike Melby will be back on Labor Day weekend, 11 days till kickoff. One final segment after this. Some people did a double take when Dana Holgerson, offensive coordinator for Nebraska, said that about Dylan Raiola. Yeah, I think we all thought, he's a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. Obviously, he's got a dad who played in the NFL for a long time. He knows protections. He's football smart. But he had some good things and some bad things in year number one, as all freshmen do. But Dana Holgorsen saying that he makes some throws that I've never seen before. You're talking about Dana Holgorsen, who is not a Hall of Famer, but he's a really good football coach who's coached a long time in college football and seen Gino Torretta was a borderline Heisman winner. He coached him. He's coached a lot of really good football players. And Dylan Raiola is making throws that he's never seen before. That kind of caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what you want to see at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely. And obviously the Nebraska offense looked a lot better when Dana Holgorsen took over the last 4 games of the season for Marcus Satterfield, who is now the tight ends coach at Nebraska. This is Dana Holgorsen talking about the wide receivers.
We know what Dane can do. We know what Ja'Cory can do. We know what Isaiah can do. It's good getting Isaiah back. He was out for about a week, and he's back out there practicing right now. So those are experienced guys. If you look behind them, Wood has had an outstanding camp, got rewarded with a single digit, and I think he put his best practice together. Yeah, not today, but yesterday we had a pretty physical practice, and he was potentially one of the most physical guys that we had out there yesterday. So we're good with that. And then, the other ones are young guys. They're freshmen. It's Cortez, it's Quinn, it's Keelan, to see what they can do. Those guys have been progressing and happy with where we're at from a depth perspective.
Not a big surprise that Dane Key got one of these single digit numbers, number 6. He was one of the better players coming out of the portal. Nebraska got him, probably paid, who knows how much for him, but they got him ahead of Georgia. Georgia was after him. Nebraska was after him, came from Kentucky. Nebraska got him because his wide receiver coach, Da'Keel Shorts, was here. So Nebraska got him. But then alongside him, Isaiah Hunter from Cal, heavily recruited out of the transfer portal. We all know about Ja'Cory Barney, the third wide receiver. And then what do you got? How much depth do you have after that? Quinn Clark and Keelan Smith have both played well, apparently, in camp. Quinn Clark is intriguing to me. 6'5", 210 pounds, a high jumper in high school, comes from Bozeman. Of course, his dad, Ken Clark, played for Nebraska, was a great running back in the 80s for Nebraska. But I think Nebraska's one of their better positions is wide receiver. I just think it is, mostly because of Dane Key and then Ja'Cory Barney. If Isaiah Hunter turns out to be as good as promised, one of the better wide receiver commits coming out of the portal, then Dylan Raiola's got a lot of throwing options. And then he mentioned Janiran Bonner, who got one of the single digits as well, not because of his receiving ability necessarily. I think it's really, he's a Swiss Army knife. He's one of those guys that can play wide receiver. He can play fullback. He can play running back. You can split him out as kind of a tight end. He's scored touchdowns by carrying the ball. He's kind of just an everything type of player for you. If Dylan has better targets, not that he had bad targets last year, but Naor and Banks struggled at wide receiver from time to time last night. Just didn't seem to get a lot of separation. If Nebraska has wide receivers on top of an offensive line that we think is maybe the best position group for Nebraska football, then you really got something, at least on offense. How good is the defense? I think that's still a big question mark. Matt Rule did talk about the offensive line, which we all think is going to be the best position group. Here's what he had to say about the offensive line.
Gunner's doing a heck of a job. He's playing really well. Teddy, Tyler, they're playing really well. So Pritchett's, he's got to continue to figure things out. He's got all the talent. He just has to figure out what's expected from him all the time. And so I know he's working at that. Some guys are pouring into him. So, we still have 2 weeks left or 10 days left or whatever. I don't even know. We have a countdown clock out there. I don't know what the countdown is, but we still have, in my mind, I look at it like 2 weeks left. So we still have another week of, today was the end of camp, but we have preseason next week. And so those races are not even close to being done.
A lot of my hope for Nebraska football, the success of Nebraska football in 2025 is based on the offensive line. Can Dylan Raiola get the protection that he needs? Because if you give him 4 or 5 seconds, he's going to pick you apart. I love what Matt Rule said there. The gunner Gatula, who played well on the right side, is now playing on the left side this year because Elijah Pritchett was one of those guys out of the portal, along with Rocco Spindler from Notre Dame. Pritchett came from Alabama. Nebraska had to pay him, I don't know, $700,000, and he's not your starter. I guess it's good that Gunnar Gatula is playing really well, but the fact that Elijah Pritchett hasn't locked down that spot at left tackle is a little concerning because you paid him a lot of money coming out of the portal to be the guy. Gunnar Gatula comes from Lincoln East. Not that a Lincoln kid can't beat out a kid that transferred from Alabama. That's certainly possible. And really good news about Teddy Prohaska, who's struggled his entire career with injuries. Now on the right side, playing a solid right tackle. I love the offensive line. Henry Latovsky at left guard might be an all-league candidate. Same with Justin Evans. I know it sounds like hyperbole, and we're usually wrong in the preseason. We'll see. But I like Nebraska's offensive line. I mentioned Spindler on the right guard spot, and then Teddy Prohaska. And then I think you've got some depth. If there is a battle, and that's one of the things that Matt Rule mentioned, there's going to be a battle. We still have more time to get this stuff figured out. Who's going to be the starter? Nobody's a starter yet, other than Dylan Raiola and Emmett Johnson. I can guarantee you those two guys are starters. I mean, obviously there are others, but those are guaranteed starters. How many more guaranteed starters do you have? I don't know. That's why you have camp. That's why you have a battle. Camp is over, and now you're in preparation mode. And maybe you would rather say that we have all the starters figured out, but the battles continue. But I really like the offensive line. And just because Gunnar Gatula beat out Elijah, or at least for now has beaten out Elijah Pritchett, the Alabama transfer, is not a terrible thing. Now, if Pritchett continues to struggle, if he doesn't play well this year, it's disappointing that you spent a lot of money on a guy that, but it's very early.
You know, I have been a Husker fan all my life. I'm going to say something I don't think I've ever said before.
Say it.
I feel pretty confident.
I do too.
Yeah.
But last year, I'm the guy that said 10 wins. So don't listen to me all the time. But however, ifs and buts were candy and nuts. Hank Stram used to say that every day would be Christmas. If you make a field goal versus Illinois, if you make a field goal or able to catch a punt against Iowa, or don't catch a punt inside the 3-yard line, you win those two games. And I'm not far off of my 10-win prediction.
You're not. You're right there.
That's 9 wins. But that's why we all feel queasy sometimes predicting Nebraska football. Uneasy and queasy. Because they don't do the things that you should do to be a 8, 9, 10 wins team. They haven't. What makes us feel confident that things have changed? Well, you've got 3 new coordinators. One is Dana Holgerson. I really like him. I think that the reviews, well, we saw him. We saw the last 4 games with Dana Holgerson as the offensive coordinator. If you can't get excited about that, then I don't know what to tell you. He was really good, and he had to learn French in 2 days. He had to learn. He didn't change his offensive system to his language. He took the Nebraska system and learned their language. And tried to condense the playbook and did a great job in a very short amount of time.
For sure.
Yeah, you lose Tony White, your defensive coordinator, but John Butler was there. He was coaching the secondary. He moves into that defensive coordinator spot. And he coached, 8 years, whatever it was, in the NFL, and had a lot of really good secondaries for the Buffalo Bills.
He's got a good resume.
He's got a very good resume. If I'm going to hire somebody, I'm going to hire somebody with a good resume. I think he's got one. And then maybe the biggest hire outside of Holgerson's the home run hire, but he had been hired last year, is Mike Eckler, who we've already seen coach at Nebraska, who was at Nebraska in a different role. I think he was linebackers coach for Nebraska under Bo Pelini. And now he's become he's become a special teams coordinator, and a very good one. He had the number 1 ranked special teams in the country when it was with Tennessee. And you bring in Archie Wilson, who's intriguing.
Yeah, the crocodile punter.
The crocodile punter never kicked in the game, but can kick with both feet. We'll see how that works out. Kyle Cunanan is probably going to be the new kicker, the field goal kicker. You've got a new long snapper in Kevin Galick. You've got probably a new holder in Camden Cook. You've got a lot of new stuff, a lot of new toys to play with if you're Mike Eckler. Hopefully all those toys work out.
Let's hope so.
But if they do, even if it's, as I said to Jack, as I've been saying for the last, anybody will listen, for the last 3 months, if Nebraska's even mediocre,
yeah,
because they were so bad on special teams, so bad that, if they could just be mediocre, just be average, don't be terrible.
The fundamentals.
If you could just be average, that's what my dad always said. Why can't you just be average?
Why do you have to be so gifted?
My dad never accused me of that. Before we leave, I thought Matt Rule had a really good take on all the videos. Have you seen some of the videos?
Oh, yeah.
He talks to the cook in the cafeteria. He talks to, whoever is there. George Darlington, the interview was good. Archie Wilson, he interviewed him, the new crocodile punter. He explains why he's doing it. Why is he doing the videos?
I grew up in an era of like Coach Paterno and like Coach Coughlin, like no cameras, get the freaking cameras out of the locker room, get locked in. Yet I'm such a hypocrite because I love to watch NFL films. And like last night I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch The Kingdom, watch the new Chiefs one, right? So I love seeing all these behind the scenes stuff, but I don't want anything behind the scenes of us. And because I just was raised that way. But when my family was in Charlotte, it was like Julie and Vivian, Leona and Bryant always being like, hey, when's the next video come out? Like, because they're wanting to know what's happening with Husker football. And I'm here every day. And they're like, well, Dad, when's the next Chase? And then Julie's like, when's the next Chasing 3 come out? Why aren't you? Because and I just started thinking about everyone else that loves Husker Nation. And so this summer I met a young lady at an event and her boyfriend's a huge Husker fan. I remember her saying to me, she said, you guys should keep doing stuff like this. She's like, I will never watch football, but I will watch documentaries and stuff about football. And she's like, Coach, I feel like I know you because my boyfriend makes me watch all this Husker stuff. So it just started hitting me like, as I went out recruiting, parents feel more comfortable with me maybe because they've seen the video instead of maybe reading what people say I am, right? They get a chance to see who I actually really am. I think one of you guys was, I think it was you. I love you, but you were like, oh, this actually shows Coach Rule's relatable side. And they were saying it to me in a good way. I'm like, I'm always relatable. Am I not always relatable, Susan?
Good stuff. I do like the videos. Yeah. I miss the Chasing 3 documentaries, but the videos are really good from Matt Rule. We're leaving. Next week will almost be game week. We'll talk to you in about 7 days. See ya. Bye-bye.